We want to get back to the spending. Stevie Cohen, where do you see the Mets roster right now? Were you excited about the spending spree that he kind of brought in with Marte and Canna and Scherzer, obviously? And where do you see it moving once, let's just assume that there's going to be labor peace. Where do you see it moving forward?
Right. I mean, well, listen, and the caveat is we just don't know what the CBT is going to be, what the penalties are going to be, and that could certainly slow some spending down. But in terms of, did I love the moves that were made? Yes. I don't know how you couldn't. I mean, Scherzer is on a different level, but those three guys that they brought in, I think they all made a lot of sense in terms of fit on the roster for one thing, and that's kind of the obvious jumping out front. But I think the other thing, and it wasn't even unspoken, it was kind of hinted at throughout the offseason with each of these additions, is the culture change that I think they're going to bring. And I think that was sorely needed. I don't know exactly. Listen, I don't, over the last couple of years, not having access to the clubhouse, it's a little bit harder to fully get in there and see the dynamics and understand it the way that I once could. So I don't want to pretend to be an expert on that. But I think that there were some issues with that clubhouse last year, and some trying to figure out the best way to put it. Maybe sometimes looking for outside blame. You know what I mean? And not necessarily a whole lot of looking internally at what was going wrong. And I do think that the guys that were brought in, the Scherzer certainly, and you know him as a teammate, Jerry, but the intensity, the accountability he's going to bring. I've heard nothing but amazing things about Escobar. Escobar, I've heard, is someone that, for the culture, for the accountability, for getting in guys' grill if things are not going well, he's great there. Canada, the same thing. Marte, the same thing. So I think that the talent infusion was needed, but the culture infusion was certainly needed as well. And then you bring in a guy like Buck, who's not going to be up for any of the nonsense either. I just think that that's going to be a major thing. And I remember talking to Conforto during spring training last year, and then right before his last game, the two of us were talking in the dugout. And one of the things that he had said is, in spring training, he said, I'm tired of all the hype, because there seems to be hype around this team every year, but something is missing, and we can never get over that hump. And it seems like we fall short of that talent level. And then it happened again last year. And I asked him what was missing. And, he talked about kind of, again, hinting at those things that, it's a tough market to play in. And sometimes you've got to understand that they're going to be tough on you as a fan base if you lose, but you can't let that affect you, because when you win, there's no better place to be. And so I just think there were enough whispers that they needed some people to come in here and change it. And I think they brought in those people for sure this offseason.
Yeah, Steve, you mentioned Buck a little briefly there, and I actually want to talk to both of you guys about your conversation with Buck Showalter a couple weeks ago in SNY. It was the first time we had heard from Buck in a while, and we know that he's currently unable to talk to a lot of his own players because of the rules of the lockout and stuff like that. How did you gauge Buck in that conversation? How did you take him in?
Yeah, I was blown away. And I don't want to, sometimes I think in the off season, when you meet new guys, whether it's new players, whether it's new coaches, new GMs, whatever, everybody's going to sound good in the off season on the first interview. But it just seemed, and this is not taking away anything from, I think Luis Rojas is going to be a great manager one day. I really do. I think he was put in a really tough spot the last couple of seasons. Obviously Mickey Callaway was what he was and first-time manager there, but you listen to Buck talk and you're like, oh, that's what a seasoned manager, that's what a guy that is confident in what he is doing, what he knows, the type of experience he's had over the year. That's what it sounds like. And I just think that, you listen to him, the attention to detail, you listen to him talk about the importance of player relationships, you listen to him debunk the myth that he's going to be against analytics, when this is a guy that for the entirety of his career has been desperate for any and all information. And I just think that he is the right guy at the right time for this team. And I think it's the right team for him in his career too. One last crack at it. It's a team that's built to win now, but quite frankly, doesn't really know yet how to win. And I think he's going to be the guy that's going to come in and is going to teach them how to win. And so for me, it's the perfect marriage. And while I've been burned at times being overly optimistic, I don't think this is going to be one of those times.
Steve, you fit right into Shea Station because Jolly and I are both very optimistic in general.
It's a problem.
And it's very anti-Mets to be positive.
Right.
And
But
so
you get killed sometimes publicly.
you 100% do, because on Buck Showalter, I've known Buck throughout the years. I've played against him, teams that he's managed for a long time. I've had bunches of conversations with him behind the turtle shell during BP and stuff. But I too was blown away by his presence. He's always come across as like a really intelligent baseball mind, but he's also got the communication skills, the just that confidence that he knows what's going on. And he's so confident that he's not afraid to seek out things that he doesn't know. The smartest person I've ever met is we talked about our unit is Michael Weiner. He was our old executive director, passed away, brain cancer. Miss him dearly. We're missing him right now for sure. But he was the smartest man in the room all the time, but he always asked questions, and he was always aware that there was knowledge out there that he didn't know. And that's the same vibe I get from Buck Showalter. Is he isn't old school in the sense that he's like, this is how I do things. He's old school in the sense that he says, this is how things are done, how I like to do things. I like to gather information from analytics. I'll take everything I can get and then put that to use the best way I know how. And that's what I was blown away with. On top of all of his baseball knowledge, his willingness to continue to grow, but also his personality, man. He's funny. He's really very likable, but he's also super like a general type. He's the guy that you want, the captain of the ship kind of, the guy in front of the camera that'll take the blame. He's not afraid to willingly say, I messed up there. And that's everything that you want on a team like this. I was really sad when the Mets didn't hire Bob Melvin because I have a really good personal relationship with him. But having talked to Buck and seen his interviews and kind of listened to some of the people involved, I'm actually super excited moving forward. And again, optimistically so, and I might get hammered for it, but I'm willing to go on record as well and saying, I feel like this is the right guy at the right time.
We'll delete this if in August there's any, okay?
We'll carefully cut it around. Don't worry.
Carefully cut around it. We'll delete it. But one of these days we have to be right?
Eventually.
One of these days it has to happen.
You would think so. Just mathematically speaking, it's inevitable that we're going to get something wrong, but we're like those people at the roulette wheel looking at it was red 6 times in a row, thinking that it's more obvious to turn black, but that's not how it works.
My real issue is that my first full-time year was 2015. And I was like, the World Series, this is easy. This is nothing. Every year.